I'm feeling this incredible pressure to speak and this incredible pressure to understand logically, uh, just to understand, fucking understand what this crazy journey is all about. And I've just been through the ringer for the past few days. Uh, Very drained, no energy, and then this repeat feeling of being completely alone and isolated and unconnected from myself. Um, it's a replay of being 1 year old. I did a session with a woman in my Sangha, and she does epigenetic body talk. So in our session, so she goes in through the body to find out which organs and which systems are triggered, and then goes into the emotional body and then finds the original story that caused the triggering of a certain thing marker in the DNA. And the epigenetics part of what she does is she has studied molecular biology in depth and can very distinctly visualize the place in the DNA and in the functions of it that needs a little tweaking. It sounds like it's a very like engineer type of mind that goes in and does, and she does this all in remotely. So it's in, I don't know what we would call it, the astral body. Within the astral body, she works in the, I guess it would be the astral body, because whatever it is, she's in Hawaii, I'm here, it's doing something on the astral body level, and then which affects the physical manifestation of it in theory. And so she went in to my liver, which was holding anger, my lungs, which were feeling overreactive, and my adrenals, and and then she found that the repeat of, well, what happened at 1 year old, one of the things was around one, I had this father who, they have just lost their first child to a tragic fire accident. So my father and my mother, before they had me, went through this tragedy. And my father, because of his own, innocence, really emotional incapability, emotional incompetence, could not process his emotions, and the loss of his son was probably just too huge, and it triggered everything. So by the time I came in to the world, he was having outbursts of anger, and it just, as a 1 year old, I was just taking in this anger, and I have a completely open emotional center in human design, so I'm like a sponge for the emotional environment around me. And my system, my my immune system, something shifted permanently in my immune system. So my immune system became on alert. My HPA axis, hypothalamus-pituitary-Adrenal gland, part of the endocrine system, a very, very complex system to be able to tell the brain, it's the fight or flight. So tell the brain we can relax and work on, just nutrition to the digestion and all the normal functioning of the body, or we're in danger and we need to be on alert. And that, that's the coursing of the adrenaline and the adrenals that gives us adrenal burnout. And So through, the complex chemical system that sends the message to the body that we're in danger, that got something in that got switched on permanently. And so from the feeling from 1 year old, there's just the body's been like, oh my God, we have to stay alert or we're gonna die. Yeah, or we're gonna get like bombarded by this toxic energy coming at us. It was like Helen said, it was like feeling like I was in a war zone and there's just like these toxic energy flying around and I'm just like bathing in this. And I'm not the only one. I mean, this is probably applies to you, so perhaps it's helpful. But so the system got turned on. This is just a physiological perspective. The physiological marker gets turned on, it doesn't turn off. So by the time I hit 15, that emotional energy that couldn't be processed started manifesting itself in numbing myself. I mean, I got right into drugs and alcohol as a 14-year-old. And there was that's what happens because the energy wasn't processed. So there's just like this numbing. Something's off. I have no idea what it is. I don't feel complete. But but there's pot and alcohol to make you feel better. So let's do that. That's like totally innocent. Like anybody, I get it. I get why we get addicted to things because there's so much pain inside from being a child growing up in an unconscious environment that we need to numb the pain of that. So the numbing and then not feeling all that anger and all that, just not feeling all of it builds and builds and builds. And then by the time I get to 30, I collapse. I'm 42 now. So complete collapse of the entire system, depression, chronic, like huge fatigue. And that's when my Pluto started squaring my sun and my North Node and my Pluto. So it was pulling me into the dark night of the soul. But so pulling, the buildup of that and then the collapse in the body from unprocessed emotions is so extreme that I have to start feeling my feelings. And I go into a complete search for reality, for truth, for what is the purpose of this journey, this being dragged into hell, We just want to find some answers and to know that's going to be okay, or that there's a reason for all of our struggle and suffering. And yeah. So it's all perfect, like it all was karmic and has had to play this way. And like new, more and more pieces of the puzzle are coming in to really show so clearly that all of the physical ailments that go on in this system, it's like this feeling of complete angst. And why am I, what is this place? What is this fucking hell? What is this like crazy circus that I'm in? And why am I here? And I don't fit in, or I don't feel okay in my body. I don't feel I don't feel okay being on the planet in this body. It's like this sadness that comes up by as this unraveling, rewinding process is happening, and I'm feeling this 1-year-old. And so after the session with the epigenetic bodywork session, and she went into this time in my life, and how it's triggered this immune function to be, sending out the killer T cells like almost constantly. So there's all this inflammation and fatigue in the body, and the fight or flight system always on. So never feeling safe on the planet. I don't feel that right now, but there's just been this constant feeling of not feeling safe. And then when we revisited the 1-year-old, and then another story, another emotional tracing that came up was that being 3-year-old and being abused, sexually abused. I don't know by who. I think maybe a babysitter. And then the feeling of complete isolation that happened after that, just feeling and no one understood me. The adults in my world could not be trusted, and people in the environment not really being conscious, and feeling that something's just really, really off. And, the sadness of that, being shattered away from myself, or the feeling of not knowing or not being connected to myself, to my soul. It brings up a lot of sadness. So I've been feeling this 1-year-old, this 3-year-old these past few days, and the body, when I'm feeling these early traumas, the vehicle is through the fatigue, and so there's a real grace to the unfolding of this awakening process, and there's gratitude for the repetitive nature of the fatigue, and right now, what comes up a lot is like, when is this gonna be fucking over? Like, how long do I have to bear this burden of feeling like I have no life force energy in there? So there can be some anger, and of course, because the ego just wants to feel happy, the mind wants to be happy, we want to feel good, right? And there's this gratitude, because this process is so profound and brings so much beauty and richness to life, and that it makes it worth it. Yeah, it makes it worth it when the passion, the depth of passion and fullness of life is growing in their relationship to the ability to keep going and digging and meeting the shadow, meeting my frozen child inside, meeting the abandoned self. And it just brings richness. Like I said, it brings a depth of just feeling the richness of this journey, like becoming, this is really a heroine's story that I'm living, and it's the warrior's journey. So there's kind of like this, whoa, what's gonna happen next feeling to the adventure of my life, which doesn't always feel like it's a fun adventure, but when I step into the awareness and watch myself, it's like so dramatic. There's such drama in the highs and the lows and the expansion, contraction. But like yesterday, this 1-year-old, so I had the session with the epigenetic body talk session 2 days ago. Then yesterday I woke up feeling exhausted. So she had dove into that 1-year-old story and went in there and re-engineered the HPA axis in the body and reset the immune markers to not be firing all the time. And the transits going on in that session, so it just kind of dug up more from the muck, or just, brought it to the surface. So I could feel it again all in a lot of the day yesterday. I was just really, really just sad, just crying, just loving my little one. But I went to the lake, and it's like such a gorgeous day, and I'm walking through this forest that's like fairy tale, magical, colorful, alive, and I'm feeling the colors, and I'm sensing myself in everything, on a certain level, even though the character's gone through this drama of feeling the sadness. But the aliveness of that forest, oh my God, and just connecting with nature like that. It's like two things going on at once. Like, it was just beauty, actually. It was just, now that I'm speaking about it, it's just like the character in this like passionate romance with the beloved, with herself, and the peeling away of the layers and layers and layers, and being in this absolute this like, what is the word I want to say, just this complete passion of being merged with God again, and willing to be a warrior and feel everything, and yet feeling like this existential crisis. That's what I wanted to say, the existential crisis of like, I don't feel connected, I don't know what's going on, this is all insane, and will it ever end? So I'm walking and I cry down, I sit down and just like see this like pure beauty all around me, but crying for the little one, crying out for Baba and Sacha and my angels to be with me, and seeing myself as an infant floating, surrounded by light, just as I'm purging the tears, just having this vision of, really I guess it's on another realm. What's actually happening is, as I'm feeling this little 1-year-old, that in there's no such thing as time, but in the Akashic records, we're going back and we're healing that 1-year-old and healing that emotional trauma. And so by feeling it all the way through, that's what patches up the program and patches up the protective layer over the heart that's making us feel separate, and the belief system that I'm not good enough, and the belief system, in my case, that I'm all alone and nobody understands me. And the belief system that I'm completely detached from myself, which has never been true. In reality, we never leave ourselves. And I don't know that through and through yet, but I do know it on a certain level. So I get up and I walk down the path again, and more tears want to come, and I see this incredible oak tree. It's like this grandmother, wise, beautiful, and her leaves are orange and green and yellow, and they're shaking in the wind. And I'm like struck by the beauty and the color. And the sky is blue and the clouds are white. It was just like a gorgeous, magical day. But more tears are coming, so grandmother invites me into her to sit down. She had two big branches going off like this, and right in the middle is like the perfect spot to sit down, and I'm laying against her and just being held by the grandmother energy of this tree and the beauty in that, and then the agony coming through of what I couldn't feel as a 1-year-old because the system, oh my God, I'm just making this connection. So because the system has gone into an alert mode and stayed that way for my whole life, now as Helen worked on reversing the processes in the body, that allows for the emotional energy to rise up. And as it's, coming up to come out, I'm feeling the memory of that. Wow. Yeah. Which is often the case, right? When we do energy work and healing work, body work, it's like, or detox, whatever, it's like the stuff has to come up and out, and on its way out, it's really uncomfortable. Detox and purging and deconditioning, it's really uncomfortable on its way out. I've been watching myself do everything but sit still. Eating, being on YouTube, making something, whatever. It's like there's something that just can't sit down. And, really being vigilant about not seeing the problem with that. Like, yeah, not trying to control the character or to feel guilty about what she's doing, just to watch her. Here she goes. And I can see it's like, when the character is kind of busy and avoiding and distracting, it's like there's something building inside that's coming to the surface to work its way out. And I'm in a very heavy, deep process of this every few days right now. And if you know astrology, my progressed sun in Scorpio, I'll post it because it's like, if I didn't have astrology, this would be a lot more difficult, because astrology at least gives me some reason or like something to explain what's happening on the symbolic level to the soul. So my progressed sun in Scorpio, 27 degrees Scorpio in the 4th house, which is all about pulling me into the depths of the agony of separation, the trauma of childhood, really like digging into the foundation for the last 27 years. Wow. It's squaring my natal Saturn in my 1st house. And that's going to be happening for a couple more years. And so it's all about this like grinding, this father, authority figure theme of looking outside myself, and then also being triggered by my teacher he triggers the father. Saturn represents father. And my father is my deepest wound. The father is the primary relationship that caused the majority of the conditioning. So with David G, he is that. He has come to help my soul come to peace and to feel everything that I couldn't feel with my father, or speak. And so when I'm with David G, it's bringing stuff up all the time. It's like bringing up this little 1-year-old. This little 1-year-old that was terrified of her daddy. And, he'll walk in the room and I'll start crying. And what I realized with Helen's work and the epigenetics and knowing the physiology it just helps to know that that physiology is happening, even though it's like, I know David G loves me. I know something knows it's safe. And yet this physiological process happens so often. I would say 75% of the time when he walks in the room, this system goes off. And so the alarms are saying not safe, not safe, not safe. And then the hormones are like raging through, and then the memories, or not a lot of memories, just feelings of being, uncomfortable in my dad's space, really is what it was. Uncomfortable. Like if he was in the room, I was uncomfortable. So David G's triggering that, and the work, but I can't stop that process from happening. It's just happening on its own. And yet it's absolutely like being dragged and feeling like I want to scream and cry and wail. And yet I have to be quiet. One of these days I'm going to explode, you guys. Because there's so much drama and passion always like playing in the body and the system. And I try to hold the cries in, and so that exhausts me even more. But it's good to know that that physiological process is what's happening, really. And I hope these sessions will help ease that. But the other thing to do, and as I'm speaking this, it's help bring clarity. The other thing is when I'm in satsang and Dave G walks in and that system, and I notice myself being uncomfortable, is to just hold the space of awareness for the little one, which I've been learning how to do more and more, and receive her. And, more and more just let her cry, let her, let it out, let whatever needs to happen. Just let it out. That's my prayer, is just to like stop trying to stop this process from happening, because it's a purification process, and it's beautiful, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. Oh man. So I'll post my astrology chart, because I've got the progressed sun squaring that Saturn for the next couple years. Progressed sun moves 1 degree per year through your chart. And then Uranus hitting my Chiron, my natal Chiron. Chiron is our deepest wound, and it's in Taurus, so it's a deep sense of worthlessness and low self-esteem. And I'm not, just that low self-esteem that comes from a childhood of internalizing the trauma, the energy around us. I think a lot of us do this. We internalize it because, as I was told yesterday, mommy and daddy are gods. They're gods to us as little infants. So no way could it be them. So then we internalize and say, well, there's something wrong with me. So this Uranus coming to hit Chiron is helping to move this original wound energy, clear it out, and to awaken this one to the next level of knowing myself, of being anchored in truth, of being in my heart. Less identification with Hamsa, Trista, the character. That's the process, is with each of these purges, which I happen to have been going through for like 8 years. 8 years of purging with very little break. I'm glad I can laugh about it right now, because, wow. So, anyways, it's purifying and allowing this process of knowing that knocking water over. Of knowing that I'm expanded and I'm eternal and I'm love and I'm beauty and I'm stillness and I'm the passion of creation and I'm not limited to this. And that's what we're all here to remember, and that's what I'm remembering, and that's why I'm excited right now. And thank you for letting me share this and to gain a little more perspective